All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 2026 premiere of Showverse. I am your host, Noah Pfister, and today I have a very, very special guest with me. He is the writer and director of the movie My Neighbor Adolf, which is a sort of black comedy about a Holocaust survivor in South America in 1960 who suspects his neighbor may be Adolf Hitler. I am joined with us today with the writer and director of that film, Leon Prudovsky.
Hi, how are you? Thank you.
I I am doing fine. Thank you very much. How are you doing this morning?
I'm quite jet lagged because I just landed yesterday night. And so I'm kind of fuzzy, dizzy and all that. But I'm very happy to be here. And it's not as cold as they told me it would be, so
Oh no,
happy about
well,
that.
that's always a plus, all things considered. I don't get me wrong, I can handle a little bit of cold, but when it's just like a little too chilly, it gets a little. Ugh. Um, but I really would love to talk to you about this movie, My Neighbor Adolf, because on paper, this does not seem like a movie that should work, because it's basically a Holocaust survivor who thinks his neighbor is Hitler, and plus it plays into the whole Argentina, you know, story that a lot of Nazis fled to after the war. But what's so surprising is how genuine and how authentic a lot of these characters' stories feel, especially with Mr. Polsky, who's played brilliantly by David Heyman. Is that his name, David Heyman?
It's, yeah, that is.
First, right off the bat, I gotta know, where did you come up with this idea?
So the idea, it's kind of it's a strange story because it's so not interesting. It just I came back from Brazil from a festival, and I was speaking to my friend that would be my co-writer, Dmitry Melinsky. I was telling him about Brazil and about productions over there, and he said, "Oh, listen, let's have like this Israeli Brazilian film about Hitler, like The Boys in Brazil or something." So he pitched to me this idea about Hitler who is hiding in South America. And I couldn't really understand why. I mean, I didn't want to write about Hitler. I, I didn't think it could be a good idea. So I said no. But the whole night I went to sleep and I was thinking about my grandmother, who is a Holocaust survivor, and how she spoke about Germans, and what would she say about Hitler, about his character. And this got me to thinking that it could be an interesting story, not about Hitler, but about a guy who thinks about Hitler and a guy who is traumatized who thinks about Hitler, and it should be a comedy. So I got back to him, and then we started like having this idea about a guy who suspects that his neighbor is Hitler.
And it's rather interesting that you bring up the whole trauma aspect because that is, in my opinion, one of the great themes of the movie that's even addressed during a couple of the embassy sequences. Because we do see Mr. Polsky, uh, you know, really have these breakdowns because, he is so traumatized by the events of the Holocaust that, it's like he needs his neighbor to be Hitler so he can get this sort of resolution that, a lot of survivors never got. And, take it from a Jewish man, I kind of am in agreement with you. I'm just like, I read the outline of this movie. I'm like, there's no way they can make a story like this seem, in good taste. And what I have to praise both you, David, and Udo, is that there's a level of sincerity that's behind both of these characters, as well as your writing, that helps bring this sort of ridiculous concept into a more authentic and fruitful fruition. Now, uh, you shot this in Cambodia and Brazil. Am I correct?
No, no. Finally, we shot it in Poland.
Oh,
and in Colombia. I mean, in Poland it was just the first scene of the film, and most of the film is shot in Colombia. Though I don't really I don't really know Colombian culture, and I don't really know a lot of I didn't know I know a little bit more, but it was really important for me that we tell a story not precisely about Colombia. So it was like somewhere in South America. So Colombia is just physical setting for there.
well, no, it works because when you take a look at the environments that this does take place in, it does have this very authentic South American feel, which, is definitely important for the story. And, you have these two houses that, are very, very close to one another, that is somehow also in the middle of nowhere. Now, did you get these houses built? Or were these like two houses that you found at like during location scouting and you're just like, I want these two houses. What can we do to get them?
So the idea during the writing, the idea was that we really need exactly those two houses because most of the scenes in the house, one of the characters is watching the other one. So everything is written very precisely how he sees it in what kind of angles, you know. So when we started to look for a location, it was very important all those angles to shoot from, and we couldn't find anything in any Spanish speaking country, anything like that. We tried in Europe, we tried in South America, we tried on the islands, and finally when we spoke to our Argentinian co-producers, they said, listen, the thing is that in Colombia we can, for the same budget that you wanted to rent those houses for a month and a half, we can just build two normal houses where you want it exactly how you want it. So basically, this is what happened. We found a pasture somewhere like in a beautiful, nice, remote place, which is kind of not very logical to have two houses there. But we shot it in a way that you would say it's kind of logical. I mean, really, it's not a place where you can build houses. So we hired the construction company that came to build those houses, and they were shocked that we really want to have those two houses in this place. Uh, 4 or 5 months later, we had to take them down. And they were like perfect houses. They didn't have running water, but they had electricity and they had everything you need to live in, actually. It was very funny.
So you actually went out and built two houses in Colombia and were basically used them as full-blown sets.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think the film industry there wasn't developed as much as the construction business, so it was cheaper just to build two real houses than to try to have like film sets, you see.
Well, no, and I think that works for the betterment of the film because there's a layer of lived-in authenticity for but like both Mr. Polsky's character and Herzog's character. And you know, we speak of production design for My Neighbor Adolf because there's a level of, I guess, time zone thematics. I think that's the term because this does take place in 1960.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, building a set is one thing, but filling the set with, authentic items from that time period, did that prove to be a little difficult for you, or was it
Yeah.
just, oh,
Yeah, that was very difficult. I think it was quite expensive and our budget wasn't very big. Um, but I think finally what helped us that the story is very precise and it creates a world that you can really create without, I don't know, it's not that expensive because the amount of situations in houses and what you need to see and how the characters live, it was like limited. So what was hard is to have a lot of vehicles and hundreds of people dressed for the 60s in the streets because we have some street like external shots and scenes.
No, and you know, like I will, praise the level of detail and appreciation because there are some of those scenes that take place near the embassy with wide open public areas, and thankfully they do look genuinely authentic.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I can't imagine how difficult that must have actually been to get those shots during those days. Um, but there is one question I have, and without getting into spoilers, because I know, symbolism does reveal story elements, but there's one particular thing in your art direction that I want to know how it kind of came into being, and that was the Black Rose, which plays a huge part. Um, in the movie itself. And I'm wondering, was that your doing? Was that Dimitri's doing? Where did the Black Rose symbolism come from?
Um, I, I'm, I'm not sure for 100% at what point the roses became black. But I think it happened last year before the production. I think at some maybe 2 years. I'm not sure. So the idea was that we had roses and it was important, but they were red roses. And at some point, it started to bug me that in this how to say this black comedy in this morbid tragic uh, thematics, we have kind of like living a nice red color, which could be a little bit as well, how to say, not a cliche, but a little bit, I would say cheap maybe. I mean, it didn't work with other elements of the story for me for a long time until I don't remember whose idea was it. I think it was my idea. Maybe we were speaking about it. So the idea that the roses should be black, which is a very unique color for roses, and which they symbolized a lot of elements of the story that I needed to work. So that was a great idea. I went on the internet and I was looking for black roses. So black roses, they don't really exist, though there are some colors when they go like to their limits of the color, it looks black a little bit. So this is where the direction we were going to. And we were looking for many people in Colombia to make those roses because they needed to they I mean they couldn't be live roses, but they couldn't be dead roses. I mean, they could be how to say artificial. They needed to be realistic. They needed to feel. You see, it was a very important um, uh, 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 element of the story, emotional element of the story. So we actually created it's living roses that filled with something that preserved them for a couple of months, something like that.
Damn, that is really fascinating. And and I love that, there's that amount of love and effort being put into, something I wouldn't say as simple because, for those of you that have actually seen the movie, the Black Roses hold a very special meaning for Polsky's character, both at the beginning of the movie, which is just so deeply saddening, all things considered. But it also plays, a huge element throughout the entirety of the story. But the big thing for me, and I think the big thing for a lot of people, is a matter of this is a rather small movie. Despite its big themes and elements, it really is a story about two men living alongside one another and this level of, fear and suspicion. And when you have a rather small cast and essentially two main leads, you have to kind of craft their chemistry and their characters around one another. And I have to praise David Heyman and Udo Kier because they have such a tangible chemistry with one another that anytime the two of them are on screen and interacting, it's just so hard not to take your eyes off either of them. Udo, especially, who unfortunately passed last a couple months ago. So, this being one of his final performances, it's a very strong one, and especially in the third act when there's I'm not going to spoil anything, but when there's that reveal and that whole situation when we find out, who his character is, it's as much dramatic as it is sad. But going back a little bit, what was it like crafting these performances with David and Udo?
But first of all, I think casting that was the lot of it because when you choose those people, those characters, those actors, when we saw that on the school they can work, and when they met, actually the funny thing was that Udo he didn't want to meet David before the shoot. He didn't want to make rehearsals. David, he's a stage actor. He's a stage director. He's a very profound method actor. Um, Udo, he's a great cinematic figure that feels the frame, that can create such unique moments. And so they were very different. And so David wanted to make rehearsals. Udo said he wanted to live the how he meets David, how he sees him for the first time. He needed to create it on screen. This is how he works. So we had to find like the golden middle between the two approaches. And I found myself in between like two big actors, like both 70 years something old. I'm half their age. I was half their age. Um, uh, Much less experienced than they are. So I think most of the work they did themselves because uh, when they saw each other, when they started speaking, I think it took like about a day and a half to become friends that hate each other, which is kind of what we needed. It was actually touching when when you shoot a movie when you work for like 1 month and a half on the set. Everybody gets tired. Everybody and you have many difficult moments, and of course you have interactions with the actors. You have some conflicts between the director and the actors, and it's normal. It's a work in progress. It's creation. But the way that they stood up for each other, the way that they were one solid body, I think that was the central magic of this duet.
And honestly, I've been on sets before. I've been able to work with other actors in somewhat of a similar fashion, and it's always very difficult when you work with two separate actors that have completely different work methods.
Yes.
But there is that level of, I guess I can say reward when you can kind of work with both of them, and eventually they kind of find that nice middle ground that gets the performances you want. I can't imagine, sorry, that was easy. I can't. And I still think, as someone who is a fan of the movie, that the performances are definitely the strongest point of the movie. But, I'm guessing this shoot lasted what, couple weeks maybe, in terms of actual like, you know,
Mm, When it was 29 working days, so it's like a month and a half, something like this.
hmm, interesting. And during those times did you ever have any I know it's a dumb question. There's always going to be difficulties on set. There's always something that's going to go wrong on some days. You're going to
Yeah.
have good days, you're going to have bad days. But I'd like to get into at least, I'd like to at least get into one of the good days. What was one of your favorite moments on set? At least, in your perspective.
I think that's actually it's very easy. it's funny when you make a lot of interviews and when you're promoting the film when it gets out, you're kind of getting used to think about the film. You have the ideas, the questions, and the answers. But when it has been what 2 years, my mother, she's very sick, so I was with her for the last 2 years, and I wasn't speaking about the film, so I have no answers prepared already. So I need to think from the scratch. It's funny, but for this one, I think it's a very simple answer. The first day of the shoot was the first shot of the movie in the location. It's the shot when the mailman arrives to the houses. Is when you discover for the first time visually the two houses. And so we came like about 6 a.m. to the set. It was in Colombia. It was so exciting. It was so different from the real life, from Europe or where you live, and you work with different people. You speak different languages, and it was just very exciting. And when you put on top of all that the film you were dreaming about since like 10 years, and it's happening with those two actors in this situation with this camera, with this cinematographer. Um, and when we came to the set, I mean, we weren't surprised because we already planned that because we saw it like 2 weeks before. But there was this crazy uh blue well, how is that in English? When you do, morning when you don't see fog. Yes,
The
fog.
morning
Sorry.
dew, the morning dew.
Yes, there was this morning. It was crazy. It was so beautiful. It was like you brought like 10 machines to make this thing to create this, and we got it for free just from the nature. We were so excited. And the first shot when you see when you dolly with the mailman and you see the houses exactly how you want the viewer to discover that this is the shot that I was seeing in my mind for years. I that was the moment, I think.
Oh, that's so sweet, honestly, because one, it's a mixture of, yes, I don't have to pay $1,500 to get these damn machines to spew what's already in front of me, but also as, as a filmmaker, it's that realization that it's
Yeah,
like this is actually finally happening. This is something like
yeah.
this that I've sunk so much time into. It's finally happening. And
But when, as you know, as an independent filmmaker, the two elements that you just spoke about, they're like they're one because actually you work and you live like an independent filmmaker against the odds. The budgets are limited. You know the the possibilities, the opportunities are limited. So uh, it's actually you can get this picture that could cost in a Hollywood production like the whole budget of your whole film, and you get it from the nature. That's part of being independent filmmaker. I don't know how it works in the States, but I think in the States it's kind of the same.
it is. I've talked with many, state-based filmmakers who have said, sometimes the elements work for them, sometimes it works against them, but every once in a while, when it works for them, it's like a miracle from God sort of
Exactly.
situation where it's
Yeah.
just kind of like, oh my God, everything's falling into place. This is exactly
Yeah.
what I wanted.
Yeah.
And um, to hear that is a really, I'm not going to say it's refreshing, but it is nice because you clearly are as giddy as as a schoolboy who's basically gotten everything he wanted. It's just like the shot I want, I got, and the actors I want, I got. There's nothing happier than seeing a filmmaker get what he wants. It's truly
Yeah.
wonderful. And you know, I do kind of want to take it a little down a little bit because the next question is a little sensitive, unfortunately. It really does revolve around Udo. Um, Now, how long was this film in post-production? Because from what I've heard, you shot a lot of this probably at around early 2024 to late 2023, early 2024. Is that
And,
correct?
no, no, not at all. No, so the thing is that it's half tragic, half comic, and we had a lot of luck. We actually we finished the shoot 1 week before the first lockdown in Paris. So basically, I came back to Paris from Colombia. 1 week later, I had my daughter born, and 2 days later, we had the first lockdown, and we started with this COVID shit for the next year and something. And we got the all theaters closed. We couldn't work. I couldn't go to shoot the polish part of the film for 1 year and something. All I could just edit the film during nights. I like 1 day before the lockdown, I bought an iMac home, and I was editing it alone for 3 months. After putting to sleep my daughter, and so it was very hard. And it was very exciting because you're like really controlling that. I mean, you're the only one who can control the first assembly, the first cut or whatever. And the editor was locked by himself, so we couldn't work together for several months. So, and then little by little, we finished the post production. A year and a half later, I mean, a year later, we could go to Poland to shoot the Polish part, and then we finished the post production. And only late 22, we finished the film, and we premiered at Locarno Film Festival on Piazza Grande.
Oh, so this was shot like a couple like almost 5 years back. My apologies.
Basically, yes,
I
exactly, yes.
I tried looking into the history of the shoot, and it looks like some of the information I got was wrong. My apologies. But what I was going to try and ask was, did Udo get a chance to see the finished film before?
Definitely. Yeah, yeah, sure. He saw the film, and he saw it even on a big screen in Locarno. And it's I'm speaking about like Piazza Grande was like you have 8,000 people on this in the square, and on the like great screen like 3 floors up. And so he saw the film, and I have to say that Udo, he was a very neat person. And I have to say that I cannot really say that I know what he thought of the film. I mean, he obviously liked it, and he obviously showed me a lot of good stuff. But he was a very complicated, very interesting, very unique person, and very deep guy. Which you don't see like not from the first sight, not from the second. You have to get to know him better. And so so I don't really know. I can tell you that. I can tell you that we had several problems on on the set. Of course, like you said, like every set. And one of the problems was that I was very demanding from the actors
Right.
towards the characters. I really needed them to give me what I was looking for. And I think that sometimes it was hard for them. We couldn't find the right common ground. Um, I think that even David and I, we had this passage of maybe even a week that we were in a conflict. We couldn't really speak even something like that. Later, we became great buddies, of course. So I remember this moment with Udo. It was a very hard moment after like about 10 hours of a shoot when he asked to speak to me. And we were just him and I, and we were speaking about the last scene that we made and about the next scene that we're going to do. And I told him how I see that. He looked at me and he said, "Listen, I want to tell you something. Either you're a genius or you're crazy. We'll find out when we'll see the final cut. But I will I will go with the genius. I will go with the genius, and I will do what you want, even that I don't really understand. So he gave me the credit, and I think how I know him, how I knew him, and how he reacted. I think he was okay. He was good with what happened. So I really hoped he really laughed. That he was just reserved to himself to tell it really openly.
I think I know what scene you're talking about. I could be wrong, obviously, but going into the whole you're either insane or a genius, considering what happens in that final act, I feel like was it that scene in particular, or was it a different one?
There were two scenes like that. That was said about a different scene, but I understand totally what you're speaking about. And we had others. Actually, that's the scene that you're speaking about. I think, and I guess I'm right. Uh, they actually got the scene. They really got it as I did. And if the scene is the scene that they're speaking about, I this is the scene that when I got to edit it, and it was, I think it's about after 1 hour and 5, 7 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
And I got there, obviously, like after 2 months of working on the cut. And I remember finishing the scene, and I was watching it for the first time, and I got so excited. I almost cried. So I'm very happy what I have with what I have there. But maybe it's a question of taste, of course, because I really met people who loved that, and I met people who were more reserved.
And look, because this, for those of you that haven't seen this movie, um, and I'm guessing you probably should have guessed this by now, My Neighbor Adolf is as much of a black comedy as it is a drama. There are some truly heartfelt moments, but there are some truly zany moments in this movie. And I think with the subject material, you have to have at least a little bit of an open-mindedness because, with tragedy comes comedy, and this movie is, I think, a great example of that, especially towards the third act, which I like I said, I'm probably a broken record at this point, but props to your actors for committing to a lot of the more outlandish moments because there, like I said, the level of sincerity that it brings uh, is felt through the screen and just makes these moments so believable in a way that you can't help but get attached to the characters too. And you know, I want to tell everyone now. My Neighbor Adolf is currently playing in select theaters in the States. Links will be to get your tickets in the description below. I highly recommend that you go see this movie. You definitely need to go in with an open mind because it does tackle some pretty heavy subject matter, but it does so in a way that is completely digestible and sincere. It is a truly unique experience that I haven't had with any movie in a while, and I think in terms of what you can walk away from, you will get a lot out of your money. You'll get a lot out of your money with it, and a lot out of your time. And I guess with that, Leon, there is one final question that I'd like to ask you, and this is something I ask every filmmaker that I have on Showverse, which is, you know, you're a creative, writer, director, you live to create. That is something that I both respect and also envy because that's something I'd like to do as well. But let's say, for example, hypothetically, you were given a blank check. What would you want to make if you were given the chance to?
Wow, I haven't thought about that for a while. So I remember the last time that I was thinking about a question like that. That was about more than 15 years ago. I remember the conversation with some journalists about it. I think I was saying that I would love to make big sci-fi smart like crazy absurdly thing. Uh, let's see if I still think so. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Uh, I really, really like period pieces, and it's very heavy things to make, uh, like artistic wise, of course, budget wise. So I guess that would be something like that. Uh, I mean, I got a green light for my next film like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe.
Ooh.
And it's a small movie once again. It's even smaller, I'd say. And it's the first thing that I'm doing since several years. So I think I'm thinking in very, very different levels right now. It's very hard for me to go to this blank check crazy dream. I'm with little dreams for the next year, you see. So I think my dream would be making sure like a little film that I wrote 3 years ago, and we got the budget already, and we're looking for some more money, of course, to make it in like half a year or something like that. But
Well, obviously that's a very real and practical way of thinking. I don't blame you for that. And honestly, I would love if you were given that sort of budget to make that big sci-fi film. But you did catch my attention with your next project getting green lit. So, if I can at least tack on one more teeny tiny question, um, can you fill us in on any of the details?
yeah, sure. About 12, 13 years ago, I made a short film. So I was born in the USSR in the 70s, and when I was a kid, I immigrated from the USSR. So I like 13 years ago, I made short film, like 30-minute short film, a mockumentary comedy about how I was immigrating, how I came to Israel when I was a kid. It was like I was shooting the film with a camera, which I was actually. I just don't have the film when I was shooting it. So I recreated it from the almost from the scratch. I mean, I had like 5, 7 shots from my childhood, and then I did it with actors, and it was I got like had like dozens of film awards all over the globe in the film festivals and all that. So like about 5 years ago, I started writing this which would be, I would say, it's like three intersecting stories about Soviet Jews coming from this USSR to Israel in one plane during the Gulf War. So it's like a sort of comedy, one location, one night, three stories. So that's the film. It's 1991.
Well, I certainly hope that I'll get a chance to watch it probably in the next couple of years or so. It seems like a very, very fascinating story with a little bit of a comedic uptone to it. And plus, it's like I said before, as a Jewish guy, I always like stories about Jews. It's very much a hits home sort of thing for me. So I wish you the best of luck, Leon. I certainly hope that you get it made sooner rather than later. And that's just
Thank you
me
so
talking.
much.
Of course, of course. And I would also like to say thank you once again for being on Showverse with us. Thank you for giving us your time. And for those of you watching, please, once again, check out my neighbor Adolf. It's in the comments section below as well as the description. It's well worth your time. It's well worth your money. And with that, Leon, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.